Okay, well, we'll just carry on, and those that come in late can join us when they do. As Andre mentioned in his email to you all with the link, I do apologize again for having to change that pesky last date. Living on an island, we have, limited medical facilities and tests and things. And the only time I could get a test in Victoria before I left for London was on the 16th. And I just knew I had to take it because it would be months before I could get another one. So that's the reason I had to try to reschedule. And then there were at least 5 people that couldn't make the 15th at an earlier time. Or no, pardon me, couldn't even make the 16th at an earlier time because of travel and work and so on. And the 15th wasn't going to work either. So what I'd like to suggest is this, is that we wait until I come back in June. And I was looking at June 20th, which is a Thursday, and I could do the call again from noon until 1:30 Pacific Daylight Time. How does that sound for you all?
Good. I'm good.
Yes. Okay. And Carolyn, does that look good for you?
I'm just looking.
Okay. And Hannah, do you have any idea?
Good for me too.
Yeah, I'll work around whatever you schedule.
Okay. 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 And give your little one a hug for me, Hannah. Okay.
So maybe ILC will take it when I send out the replay, and I can ask about June the 20th, or just say that will be the date maybe.
I think we just will say that's the date. And if it turns out for some reason that, the majority can't make it, I mean, we have almost half the group here now that can make it. Kathy, are you still looking at your calendar? And that's okay.
Yeah, I was trying to add it actually. Yeah, it's okay with me. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And I just am trusting that will work out with people. And if not, then I'll trust mine to guide me in how best to handle that. And it may end up that I would do 2 different calls, that I would do the 20th with this group. And if it turned out that there were enough that couldn't make it, then I would do another Zoom call to honor that last call with the other group. But we'll just see how it turns out. For now, it'll be June the 20th at noon. And thank you very much for your understanding and your flexibility. That was one of those times, I tell you, being kind of feeling, well, this is, I can't ask this group to switch again. Mm-hmm. And then honoring what I need to be healthy and to carry on. You know what I mean? It's like that dilemma, that bit of a dichotomy, and taking care of my body so that I can continue to serve one. And so, however that sits with you all, I just trust that you understand, and I appreciate it. So I really enjoyed the last call. I may have said this now several times. It's like each call is the best yet. Same as like each cup of tea or bowl of soup or whatever Vicky is having is like the best, the best dinner I've ever had, the best cup of tea, the best call. And I love that we can continue to evolve together and learn together. I loved what Andre had to say and what Vicky had to say, what you all contributed again. And Hannah, you were away, and I don't know whether you have listened to the tape since then, and I know you have family with you now, children with you now, but at any point, please feel free to chime in and share whatever is on your mind or new to you. So having just kind of set the stage there, I'm curious if anything stood out for you in the last call that prompted insights or anything, comments. Carolyn?
Yes, it had a fairly a fairly significant effect on me, and the insights have just sort of been, if you like, popping. Or I loved the analogy of the shell cracking, and I had a real physical reaction to what Vicky had said. That and I can't shake it off. That what she said about that, it's just a human thought. It doesn't, or that's what I heard you say, Vicky. It's just a human thought. It doesn't mean anything. It's not saying anything about me. And that really resonated, and I've loved just sort of being with that, actually.
Yeah.
And that kind of then made a few other little shells crack off.
Wow.
So yeah, I've had a lovely couple of weeks.
That's just outstanding. I love that what Vicky shared, woke something up in you and cracked some shells. It did for me as well. I wouldn't be surprised if it also did for others that were on that call or listened to the call later. And so I think that is very cool.
Yeah, I had a real sense of, well, I would describe it, I suppose, as just my sense of ego, which, I now see that, it's my ego that has the sense of me. And that just seemed to, that just sort of really settled down in that I feel a lot less in my ego.
Wow. It's like a weight off our shoulders, isn't it? When we get that crack and more wisdom is able to filter through. That's so beautiful. Same as that simple phrase, and you spoke to it again. I think it was Tony that said the thing about when I shared that story about my friend saying to me, "Oh, get over yourself." How helpful that was for you. And again, some others on this call. And that deepened once again for me, all kind of attached to our personal thoughts about who and what we are rather than our big picture understanding of who and what we are. That's it. On one hand, it seems so simple what it is to make that crack that egg. And on the other hand, what filters out, what comes out is so profound and so powerful that it's able to affect every element in our lives.
Yeah.
That to me is still quite remarkable, observing and experiencing those cracks. Yeah. Anything else from the last call? Kathy?
Yeah, I just love these calls. I almost don't want to say anything because I just want to experience the feeling. But what's at the very end of the last call, and you've alluded a few times, Elsie, to not being in quite perfect health. So obviously my best wishes for whatever it is. But you said when you looked at the conference and looked at the old timers and you said how there was a kind, how lit up they were. And I don't know if this is exactly what you said, but what I heard was, no matter what kinds of aches and pains we've got, there's a we can come in and out of them, and that sparkle, that light, that, you know, that essence is there. And I've been struggling with this back pain for a couple of years now, and I really want it to go away, you know, that I feel like it's me, Kathy. I have this, that I have to do something, and I know it's an area where I'm just not, you know, quite the shell's not quite cracked yet. And when you said that, I thought, oh, that's so true. Of course, I'm not constantly in pain, and I'm not constantly, you know, worried about it. I come in and out of thought, I come in and out of physical symptoms. And so I've just been kind of playing that through my head the last couple of weeks, that, yeah, just the illusory nature of, and the kind of the transience of the experience of everything relating to that as it relates to everything else, that, you know, every other thought and experience that I'm having is also, just as they are transitory, somehow this felt more significant and more like it was on me to, you know, it felt like there was more to it than other things that I experience. And so, yeah, I've been, so last week actually I felt a bit low, but this week's been a bit, you know, up and down, up and down, up and down. It's been strange, but that's the, you know, that's what I've been looking to, that sparkle is there. It's just that sometimes, you know, I experience physical pain, sometimes we experience some emotional pain. It's all the same, and it doesn't mean any of the things that my thoughts might be coming, you know, up with. It's just another human thought.
It is. It's that whole thing of continuing education that has helped neutralize my life in terms of judgment and blame of myself and of others. That it's continuing education that we're going through, kind of the blending or the alignment of our true nature and our human nature. And more I come to respect and honor my human nature instead of being dismissive, because, you know, what I would hear Sid talking about was our spiritual nature, and oh, okay, so that's the direction.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear him. It's not that he wasn't talking about our human nature. I didn't hear that. I had just like a single-minded direction. And then just gradually over the years, where my human nature has just given me a kick in the behind to say, like, wake up, take care of me.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's that aspect of tough love where it takes that to wake us up. Yeah. And I'm still going through that. I've been having acupuncture treatment rather than having, you know, chemicals and meds in my body. Like, I just wanted to see, that was where wisdom was directing me. Check that out, despite some ambivalence early on. And it's been really helpful. What's been more helpful than anything is that the physiotherapist listens.
Yeah.
In a way that the doctors that I'd gone to here on the island were not. Yeah. That I was more like, you know, case number 54. And okay, what are
another middle-aged woman with some
that's
physical
right.
problems. That's, yeah.
You are kind.
No, I meant me. I meant me.
Oh, okay.
But that's how the doctors here. You know, you're in and out.
My ego took it for me.
Middle-aged, another youngster.
Middle-aged. I'm taking it anyways, Kathy. Thank you. Yeah. That's good, isn't it? Boy, that slipped in there. Really good. And it was his listening that was healing as much as the acupuncture. And where I've been with that is that sometimes it's more successful than others. And other times I actually experience a little more pain than before I went in. And so when I went in yesterday, I was kind of half and half. Like, I was looking at half of what is and half of what isn't, because I'm leaving for London soon and I want to be better. I want to walk freely. And so I was describing that to him, and he really listened. And then he, you know, moved my leg around, asked me to do a couple of exercises. And he said, Elsie, you've improved. Like, you know, be grateful that you've improved. You're better than you were last week. And it's like, well, yeah, but I'm not as good as I want.
And that's the danger.
When I
isn't
heard
it?
myself say that, it's like,
That's the danger.
what's
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
if not ego?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's me. That's where I've been with it.
Yeah.
Like I don't want this pain. I used to be like all this made up stuff. We all have it. And it's, when people say, oh yeah, I get it. Like I get it. Of course I get it, but I'm not really getting it. I'm not really, I'm seeing it's there, but I'm not really seeing what it is.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And
But
that's it's starting to crack open.
That's the thing.
Open, yeah.
Honestly, I do see that. I see that for you because you couldn't say what you're saying as freely if you were as caught in your ego as perhaps you think you are. And it's the same for me. Like I can laugh about it. I'm being straightforward with you and sharing what I've been feeling, but it's like not a big deal to me. It was a bigger deal in the office yesterday.
Yeah.
But I could have hung on to that, like in the older days, or like when I didn't have quite as much learning, I would have hung on to that. I wouldn't have listened to him in the way he was serving, in the way he was offering. And so like today, I'm better. I'm better physically because I'm better mentally. I am more grateful for what is instead of what isn't.
Yeah. And I think that's what I saw from last week's call is that, of course, this isn't a permanent state.
Yeah.
Because it isn't. And just seeing that means, well, then it can't be a thing because it isn't permanent. So
yeah,
don't make it more permanent.
I know. It's such a fascinating journey.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Elsie.
This moving aside from sort of the aches and pains and things, I've been preparing. I've observed wisdom preparing me, mind mentoring me for London and for Norway. And I learned so much when I was with the Soul Centered series in Los Angeles. And then as I shared with you all, also at the 3PGC conference. And so much came out of that. Like I really felt and feel that I shifted into another level of not quite understanding what happened, but it's the feeling. Like I can feel there's a different feeling inside. And so it's been interesting because some of the colleagues I work with and will be co-presenting with in London, everybody has their own unique way of preparing for when you do your work. Some may have insights and write them down. Some may have, prepare in the moment or whatever your style is, your way, your path. Pretty much for me, I get prepared in the middle of the night, like around 3 o'clock in the morning, and wisdom stirs, and usually it's a good thing. But depending on my state of mind at 3 o'clock in the morning, it may be like, oh, just be quiet, wisdom, shut up. I don't want to. I want to sleep. Just leave me be. But most of the time, I really do recognize that, okay, there's something stirring. And it may be insight without content. I think I've mentioned that before in conversations with you all, that it doesn't necessarily have to be like a phrase formed in our minds. It can be simply a feeling that's stirring, that tells us something is stirring. I don't know what, but something is stirring. And at first, that stirring would be a bit disturbing because I'm not at ease. There's something stirring. And it was actually George Pransky who helped me with that. He came to a conference we were doing in Florida when we were living in Florida and had an organization there. And I was telling him something about being nervous before I was doing my presentation. And he said, you know, Elsie, that's a good thing when you have butterflies. It's like preparation from the inside out. And I'd never heard that before. And I'd never observed that in Sid. Sid always, once he had that epiphany, he always was like calm and level about going into the presentation. And oftentimes he would actually say, my talk is done. I remember the first time he spoke to a large crowd in Vancouver, and his mother-in-law was saying to him, Sid, like, what have you prepared for your talk? You need to be prepared. You need to write something down. And he said, oh, Mom, you know, I'm okay. Like, I know it'll come out in the moment. I'm okay. And then the next day, before they went on the ferry to Vancouver, and I wasn't at that talk, but he and Mary told me later that Sid said to Mary, Mom, you can rest easy. My talk is done. And she said to him, what on earth are you talking about? That your talk is done. You've not even gone on the ferry. What do you mean? But he knew inside of himself that he was ready. And that was really the first time for a large crowd that he had spoken publicly. So that was kind of what I observed was his calmness and so on. And I never knew that having butterflies and being a bit nervous before you start, that's a good thing. It's like you're getting prepared, you know, like a racehorse at a race, and you know, the horse is right there ready to go. And same as the jockey, like ready to go. And so now I've gotten comfortable with that. And what also helped me is to be honest. That, again, more in the early days when I would be talking with the group, and if I was nervous, it just came to me to say, I'm a little nervous, so bear with me while I find my legs, you know, while I get grounded. And people appreciated that. And it settled me down. Like the honesty was the release of my wisdom, of that quiet strength. And now I seldom get nervous in front of a crowd. Like there's 1,000 people coming in London. And the last time I spoke 2 years ago in London, I think there was something like 750 or 800. And I wondered what that would be like, speaking to that larger group. And when I was on the stage and faced them, it was like, oh, lovely. How lovely to be with you all. Like I felt very moved by the energy in the room, and very comfortable, as if I had 750 people in my front room. It was really very powerful. But the preparation before that is what I've been going through now. And it's been up and down, you know, where I don't know what I'm learning. I don't know what I have to offer until I get there. I just know I'm in preparation. And that's enough. Most of the time. Sometimes I'm trying to like, oh, just settle down. You know, and I get like I want to smack myself, you know, just settle down. And that doesn't serve me well. And so it's, you know, riding the waves. I've heard people say riding the waves. Our human nature and our true nature, riding the waves together. And then one of the things that really helps me during that preparation then when I wake up, say the next morning, is to have quiet. I'm usually drawn to the quiet. Then, sit out on my patio or go for a walk or just be still and rest in that stillness. And it doesn't take long. I don't know if somebody had said that last time, whether it was you, Kathy, or somebody said that had gotten a little bit maybe off track during a presentation and they went to the loo, and just those few minutes, that wasn't you, just those few minutes in the loo helped that person get grounded again, just settle down and be able to come back in and be grounded. I spoke with a couple yesterday that had also been at the 3PGC, 3PGC conference in LA. And this was the first time I'd spoken with them since then, and they just were flying. They just were blown out of the water by the feeling they experienced. Hi, Constanza. By the feeling they experienced at that conference, their feeling. And when they got back to their home and their work just changed on a dime. They had some beliefs about grounding being really tied to their ability to articulate the principles in particular, to count on that articulation more than anything. And sort of the strategy or their plans for the groups they're working with. And they have some long-term programs, like 6-month long programs. They have other programs that are just maybe a 3-day retreats, things like that. But in both cases, as they honored their wisdom and the feeling that was coming through them, that feeling really affected people. So that's like, almost a month ago that they were at that conference and had this big crack in their belief system that allowed more wisdom to emerge, and the feeling of wisdom, the feeling of their true nature. And so as they were describing that, they'd kind of left some of the details out of their work, some of the strategies they had planned, that they'd just intuitively set it aside and just shared from the feeling. And they didn't even say to me like what they shared. It was just all about the feeling, that they just shared from a deeper feeling than ever before. And that one of the groups in particular had been a corporate group, and kind of tough. Like when they had been working with them previously with strategies and a planned agenda and, things like that, it was a bit tough. They weren't making much headway. When they went to the feeling, they couldn't get over the response. And then when they met with them, I don't know, maybe a week later as follow-up, they were absolutely astonished at some of the results that they were hearing. Results not so much on a corporate level, at least that's what they shared with me yesterday, but results to do with their families, with the corporate people that were there. They were saying things like, my son has been really struggling with anxiety issues and panic issues, and he's a teenager and all this. And the father said, like, I haven't even talked to him about this, but somehow his anxiety has really dropped. And he's just in a different state altogether. And I don't know what on earth has happened. And he said, same with my wife. like, I can't get over what's happened to my wife. And so he's sharing this with the two facilitators. And they're saying to me yesterday, like, we don't know what's happened. We don't know what's going on. We're just blown away. And it struck me, it's like, I've heard Sid say this so many times, like, it doesn't matter if you don't understand. You don't have to understand for this to work, because this is who we are. We are this essence. And so when we get out of the way, in essence, that essence that is represented by that deep feeling, it's like magic. So here's this corporate person who is also a father and a husband. Just because he's in a completely different state of mind is impacting his family without teaching them. It's just his being with them. And they just were so taken by this that I don't understand what's going on. And I'm saying, but look at the results. Like, that's all that's necessary, is that when you're so blown away by the depth of feeling, and then you hear the results, that's it. Like, that's our service. That's like the best, most precious gift, to teach without teaching. Wow. And then they mentioned also, like, the group, the larger group they were working with, that they've been working with for a number of months. And it was the same thing, you know, that there were still people in the group at the end of the program who still had kind of stuck, gripped by their beliefs, like we all are. But it was the end of the program, and so they were really hoping that something would shift them just a little bit more. And once again, you know, instead of following sort of the plan that they had, they just spoke from their soul. That's what I kept hearing from them, is that instead of their articulation interesting people, it was the soul to soul connection that was educating people. And not even necessarily were these people sharing insights, like that corporate man, father, husband, didn't necessarily say to the co-facilitators, like, this is the insight I had, and then I went home and things changed. It was like the verbalization didn't matter. It was his being, his new state of being, that had impact and was the teacher. And when I kept hearing that, I was very, very moved by what they were sharing. And I just share that with you all, that sometimes we share more depth than we give ourselves credit for. You know, that there may be those moments of stillness when we're with people or when we're with groups, where people can breathe. That pause that allows us to breathe. And it's like soul breath. Soul breath. And that, I've got nothing after that. Hmm. I like your office, Claire. The French doors behind you. Is that your office?
It's my kitchen.
It's your kitchen. It looks beautiful.
It's one aspect of my kitchen onto the garden.
What's that?
It's one aspect of my kitchen that leads onto our garden.
Oh, it's lovely. It's lovely.
Thank you. I'm very lucky. I live in a very beautiful home.
Yeah. Yeah. So, does anything come to mind for you? Oh, lovely. Okay, so we have Tony and then Vicky.
I just wanted to speak to the, I don't know why it came out, it's kind of funny, but the phrase where Sid had said, "My talk is done," you know, I see that there is kind of a very magic dimension to life where there really isn't time. And somehow, so we're always in the eternal moment, the eternal present. It's eternal, right? It blows your personal mind because it can't grasp that, you know, that it's always now. And so when I heard that, it just really made me think of whatever it is that we're doing is already done. And it's done for us and through us. And the more we can see that we can take our hands off of the doing and let the doing be done, it takes on that different quality of being, and how that everything is already done. And we forget, right? So I get caught up in like planning and thinking and futurizing, but it doesn't exist. and it's already done. It's already over. And what's going to come is already, you know, it's time is just such an illusion. And part of the game, I just look at it as part of the game of life, because we are always sitting in the eternal now. And that eternal now is, to me, always linked to that deep feeling of being, that deep stillness. And it just takes, I think, for me, it's very grounding for me.
Yes.
Timeless nature of life, the timeless nature that we are, that we are somehow, right? Words are really difficult when you start looking in this direction. Words just don't quite capture it. So yes, I guess a feeling, right? It's about a feeling, but seeing how, when I could just, you know, hear his voice kind of as I've heard it through tapes, how he's saying, you know, it's done. And what a feeling of relief that can bring you to anything in your life, that whatever it is you're seeking is already there. Whatever you need is already done. So it gives you pause to become present again and present to that deeper nature of life. So I really liked that.
Oh, wow. And thank you for sharing that. That was so beautifully said. And from such depth, Tony. Thank you.
Thanks, Elsie.
Wow.
Elsie, could I say something on that?
Yes.
It's Hannah. Yeah, I love what Tony's saying, because I mean, in a different way, I have so much going on at the moment with basically not having, my house is under construction. So it's a bit difficult with the couple of kids and no house, but I just, that really helps me. Just, I have this thought that it's just like everything's going to happen exactly when and how it has to happen, and it allows me to just take one day at a time and not get into the doing or into trying to get it faster than it is, or it's going to be done when it has to be done. So there's nothing more to do other than just what makes sense in the moment, and just do the best you can in the moment, because I just have this feeling of everything is going to just be the way it has to be when it has to be, and there's nothing that you could do to change that. It's just, it's not, it's going to happen when it has to happen. And there's so many hiccups and things that come in the way, and difficult, like, challenges, that if you start thinking you could do something about it, you just get frustrated and impatient and aggravated, and with that, it just lets me wake up in the morning and see what I can do to make a difference in the day, but knowing there's nothing else other than that. It's just going to be the way it has to be.
Yeah. Oh, Hannah, that's beautiful. And the feeling coming through you too, like I think of your children, and that you've got children with you now, the way you're living in the now, as Tony was describing as well, and as we've been sharing earlier, kind of that soul breath, that's what you're offering to your family. And it's like, that's our immediate thing, globally. Yes, it's that will ripple out to the world at large, but to have that beautiful gift for our immediate family, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and it is. It's like I feel really in a way a bit of a challenging situation, like for them to know the same thing, like everything has its plan. Like we don't run the universe, and we do the best we can with what's available to us, and you could get creative, and you could but really everything is perfect just the way it is. And I don't know, there's just something for me, it makes it much easier, and it's just living one day at a time, and just living as best like with what you can, what's available to you, and with doing the best you can do with kind of your limitations and your humanness, and it's just so helpful. It's so helpful to just, a lot of what I've been learning in the last few weeks is just living with what I can do, like be true to myself, and just honor that, and just, even though sometimes it goes against the rules, and it's not acceptable, and it's not what everyone will do, but it's just what I can do. It's just being honest with myself, and it meant that I have a life. Like it was like I could live with the limitations but have the quality of life, because I have the feeling of life, or I could suck every bit out of me and not have a life, but go by all the rules and regulations. And it's been such an interesting experience, but such a beautiful experience to just like do the best I can, and just do what I can and be okay with that. But at the same time, stay in the feeling of life, like I'm not going in crazy and insane and stressed. And it's just because I'm honoring myself, I'm honoring what I can do, and not stepping beyond what I cannot. And it's just been so different and so helpful.
Wow. Hannah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Wow. Wait till you hear yourself on this tape when you listen to it again, because again, I'm hearing you each have such a unique way of sharing your wisdom, like each one. It's just beautiful how you share. And sometimes, like, I know when we're in the moment sharing our wisdom, we're just sharing from the soul, and we don't even know what we're saying sometimes because it's truth coming through us. But wait till you listen to yourselves again. When you have a couple of days and you listen to yourself on this tape again, you'll be surprised. Yeah. Thank you, Hannah.
Well, thank you, Elsie.
Wow. And Vicky, you had your hand up earlier.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony and Hannah, for sharing those things. Really interestingly, what I was going to raise, Tony, you started talking and I was like laughing because I was like, oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like it was so connected to, so it links to something from last week actually, Elsie, as well. Andre, I wanted to say thank you to you for what you shared, because you gave this metaphor of rowing with the oars or putting the sail up. And it absolutely just blew me away. I loved it. It connected to something that had already come up with a client and was just another beautiful metaphor for pointing to the same thing of putting in the effort versus just riding life's wind or breeze. And it occurred to me, like, sorry, so many things have happened on this call, but that one really, really stood out. So thank you for that metaphor. I hope it's all right. I've been sharing it with my clients because it's just such a beautiful way of pointing.
Of course, thank you.
And then Caroline, thank you for what you said at the beginning as well. I'd forgotten I'd said that. I was so blown away by Andre's metaphor. I was like, what was I saying last week? And then when you said that, it was like, I heard it again. I was like, oh, I'd forgotten that I knew that about that other thing, whatever it was that I thought, oh, that's a human thought. And I hadn't seen it about my human thought at the moment is about not having enough money. And so then first I was hit as Caroline said that. I was like, what if that were another human thought? What if that's not even on me? And then I thought, oh, I've been rowing the oars with the money thing. Maybe I could put the sail up. And then I thought, maybe you can just do that for everything. Maybe you could just have the sail up. Oh, maybe nothing's on me. What?
Wow.
And then I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
and I don't really know what to do with it.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's incredible, you guys. Wow. Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Vicky. Wow.
Mhm.
I'm just a little breathless here listening to you all. And I see Sophia has joined us as well. Welcome back, Sophia.
And Constanza has raised her hand.
Yes.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Constanza.
Hello.
I'm sorry I'm late and I'm in the car, but right now I can speak for a little while I am parking.
Is there any way you can speak up a little bit or turn your sound up a wee bit?
Let me see. Can you listen to me better now?
That's better.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So I've been tapping into this energy lately, like these few weeks, that I would call it the energy of mind. I do this other energetic work, but every time I do it, I feel I'm in contact with mind, and I'm being guided by mind. So I wanted to share with you this experience I had with these other classes I teach. They have this energetic process that helps people when they are in these dying situations, to help them realize they have choice. Like you just touch the feet of the person, and with these energy flows, they you communicate like with the being, like with this mind inside of you, the whole of you, and they can choose to stay or to go out of the human body. So I had a lot of points of view about doing that process. And it's been going on for a while in my head, in my human head. Since 2 weeks ago, I was in Mexico City and my mom's sister was dying. So I had to, well, I didn't have to, I wanted to visit her. And when I got to see her, when I saw her like connected to all these machines, and they told me she had been like that like for a year, and she had all these scars in her body, like these holes full of blood, and I don't know the word in English, but this thing that pours in your body when it's infected. So I was so guided by wisdom to do the process to her. It was like I didn't even think about it. And all my points of view and judgments about if it was right or wrong or what expectation was going to come out of it, it just like dissolved in the moment. It was just like I was guided to do it. So I did the process, and I talked to the family, and I told them like not to have any expectations, because at the end, like her being was the one that has the choice to stay or not to stay here. And for the 4 days after that, she passed away. So it was like so clear to me, like the energy of mind being present.
Wow. Oh,
So I just
yeah.
I'm sorry, but I
No,
wanted to share that.
that's, you know, of course you would feel that emotion. You know, that's,
Yeah.
wow.
And today too, I that was the reason I was late. You know, I wanted to get into the penitentiary system for a while, and my one of my sons has a rock band, and in one of his well, one of the times that he plays the guitar, I happened to be sitting with a mom whose daughter is the singer of the band, and we were just having a conversation about what each of us was doing. And I told her about the penitentiary system, and she said, oh, you know what? If you like this volunteer work, I work with cancer kids in this hospital, and I work with vulnerable women in this and this situation. Are you interested? And I said, yes, sure. But I was not asking for it, you know, I was just asking to be of service and help for anybody. So today I got the appointment, and I went a little while ago, and they say, yeah, for how long do you want to be here? And how do you want it to look like? And what do you, it was like everything, yes, 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 yes.
Wow.
So it was like mind again, being there present.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to share.
Oh, gosh. Thank you, Constanza. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gosh. Well, I have a tape that I would like to offer of Sid's. But I also wanted to say, if there was anybody else like Claire or Sophia, if either one of you wanted to say anything, or shall I play this tape to end our call? Sophia, how do you feel about that? Yes, play the tape? Okay. Okay. I don't know why. I mentioned Separate Realities, the DVD of Separate Realities in the last call that Sid had done and that I used to play in the corporate world. But I was looking through my old early audio tapes of Sid and found Separate Realities from 1978. And so that's what I'd like to play and see how this works now. Okay.
It's really nice to see new faces, and it doesn't.
Can you hear it?
What brought you here, how you got here, how you heard about Larry. It doesn't really matter. It just means to say that somewhere along the line, you're attracted to energy. And in this energy mass, there's a game called life. And we are in this game called life. And this game is created from this mass via a superconscious state, which has attached to it a free will and a free mind to play the game exactly the way it wants to play. The second you start to realize a spiritual fact, all your social problems, all your physical, your mental, all problems start to vanish because you see with clarity. That's how it is. You start to see what is instead of what isn't. Because what isn't is a negativity and the wrongs that the mind sees, therefore creates more and more and more. You must go away from that. You must go beyond that. Beyond the belief to the fact, to the realization that inside you truly lies the answer and the secret to all life. And from inside, those separate realities appear. And each reality, as it goes higher and higher, brings you the peace and the love and a true understanding of what is called religion. It's really a beautiful thing because you start to realize how nothingness you really are. Really nothing. Just a laugh, a little joke, a little cosmic joke that's appeared, thinking is really something. And it's attached to an ego. And we've got to feed this ego. And the whole world searches in the wrong direction. Because you are going to feed the ego. They feed the sickness. The ego is the illusion of mankind. You must drop the ego. You must start to realize what the ego, how harmful the ego is. And here is where your freedom is found. Because the second you start to see how your ego is creating your problems, at that moment, that very moment, you've seen a spiritual reality. You've seen a spiritual fact. The guarantee. The only time you'll ever see truth, the only time, is in a state of meditation. Because in a state of meditation, you're beyond the mind. You're beyond the concept of thought. Because you see, all the beliefs need thought. And the belief is the illusion of life. But truth, true knowledge, true reality needs no thought. It just is. It's a split second of God in motion, of the isness in motion. It just is. And if you can get in the state of meditation more and more, you see what is all the time. And this needs no thought. Because the true workings of a mind is not to think. It's to be an open channel to the isness of all things. And if you can open that channel, you are. You will always have the free will to close it. Because the free will of mankind and the will of God are truly the same thing. So you can't give it up. It only pretends to give it up. But you've got to have the courage to pretend to give it up, to find out that you can't. Because both wills are one, and the will of God is all things. It doesn't matter if you don't understand. Because I'll tell you, you can't. You can't possibly understand from a thinking mind truth. You've just got to hear it. And if you don't hear it tonight, perhaps you'll hear it tomorrow. Perhaps next day. Perhaps 1,000,000 years from now. It doesn't matter. But you can't figure it out. Wisdom cannot be figured out from the mind. That is why there's no such a thing as wisdom written or wisdom spoken. Because before the wisdom is heard, or before it's seen, it vanishes. Because it falls on the ears of the thinking mind. And truth can't be heard from the mind. It's a trick. It's a cosmic trick. It's a cosmic game, and it's a puzzle. It's a gigantic puzzle. And it's our birthright to find out how the puzzle works, where the pieces go. So we search to find our own true spiritual identity. Every human soul in the world is doing this. It doesn't matter how he's doing it, but he's doing it. Because he is it. And the isness can't possibly hide from itself, but it's always in the game. Nothing can leave. We search in so many ways. But there's only one way. There has always only been one way, and there will always ever only be one way. You see, the churches, the major churches, no matter which nationality, no matter which religion, they all have the way. But that doesn't make any difference to the mind of mankind, because it's the mind of mankind that has lost the way. The way has always been here, and it is written, and it is perfect. But the mind of man has lost it. It's not that religion has lost them. See? True religion is truth. It's not that religion has lost or let them down. It's they have lost the way. And if you go and take somebody else's words, and you fight to find a way, you'll never find it. In the meantime, when you don't know, you have no other choice but to go and find a guide that can help you to find the way. even though he or she knows they're absolutely wasting their time talking to you at all. Until someday you see beyond what's being said to find the truth and to find what you're searching for. And when you find what you're searching for, you'll find out that the way, truth, whatever you want to call it, repairs your life completely. See, truth covers all things. Truth is a level of conscious state. And every time your level of conscious state rises, the happenings or the doings that you do to yourself change. Because every time you go up higher, you see with such clarity, so much more love and understanding, that your doings and what is done to you also changes, because it starts to get better and better and better as you go higher and higher, for the simple reason you're allowing the isness of all things to do exactly what it's supposed to do, is give you the perfect life. And all you're doing is by simply going into the state of meditation and seeing spiritual facts, you're opening the channel of your mind to cleanse it completely, so there is nothing in the way between you and the true God of all gods, the true land of knowledge, if you want to call it heaven, call it anything you want. Those are only names that don't mean anything. Don't get caught up in names. We just use words to try and describe the undescribable. Don't listen to the words. Listen beyond the words. It's something you already know. Not telling you anything new. Nothing new. There's nothing new to say. Nothing. It's something you already know. And it changes your life of beliefs to one of facts. See? There is absolutely no way is it possible for mankind to fix all his problems, all the starving children in the world, all the pollution, all the killings, all the crimes and all the problems, social problems. It is absolutely impossible for mankind to fix that. Because those things were created from the same mind of man. Mankind, when he doesn't know what facts are, when he doesn't know what truth is, he must conform to the level of conscious state that he dwells. And whatever we see now on this earth is whatever our collective state of consciousness has created. Now the only way you can get out of it is raise the level of conscious state of humanity. And to do this, there is no intellectual mind in the world capable of doing it. It can only be done by looking inside and seeing truth. And the second people start to see truth, it is very contagious. Because the living souls that are ready will hear it. Once you see spiritual facts, you start to hear people. You start to see the beauty that's in people that you've missed because you were too busy talking to yourself. And you know what it is? It's what everybody's searching for. Tranquility. Love. understanding the secrets that lie within. That's where the truth lies. Understanding the spiritual truths that lie within. And you don't have to, you can't possibly find the secret that you search for happiness outside. You can't possibly think it. You must see it. And all you have to do is listen. Just listen to the truth, what you've heard now. I'll guarantee you'll find your happiness. If you want it. And if you don't, that's beautiful. Because it just means you're not ready. Very simple. Just listen. It's too simple. That alone is a challenge to the mind. It gets it busy. It can't be that simple. Well, it's so simple you already know. How simple can it be? And how nice it is to find out that there's nothing, you have done nothing wrong in your life. And all of a sudden you find this truth. Then the wrongs get, so-called wrongs, get less because you understand. That's freedom. Freedom lies within. It lies inside. You can't run away from it. The more you run away from it, the less you get. You gotta look inside. Find your spiritual identity. I swear that's where it's at. I swear if you see what I'm talking about, you'll never again, never have to walk into any kind of workshop or psychologist or psychiatrist. You'll never need anything. I swear it to you. Because you're not finding a belief. You're finding a fact. And that fact manifests, becomes alive. Then you're on the road to freedom. Very soon you start to realize, give up the search. If you ever find it, no matter how hard you've been searching, if you ever find what I'm talking about, sure as fate, the first thing they'll say to everybody is, give up the search. And they'll say, no, you've been searching for years. It took you years to find it. They'll say, yeah, that's because I kept searching. It's really simple. I know it sounds ridiculous to say, oh, give up the search. And I know from the mind it isn't that easy. But if you hear what I'm saying and go beyond the mind, you'll find that it is easy because you already know. And that's a fact. And once you see the difference between a belief and a fact, then your life changes because it's like you're reborn. Because you start to see life. You start to see the beauty that lies out there, not all the negativity. Because if you can see the beauty with the understanding, the negativity isn't negativity, it's just lost souls. On the lower plane of consciousness, not knowing what to do. So it's got nothing to do with you. They're there and you're here. But if any people want to come over and find out how to get unlost, then just jump up here. Because that's what it's about. The more you can give it away, the more you get back. Because the more you give away, the more you're accepting and telling the world it's a reality. So therefore, the more you can handle. So you get more. And you get way more. And you get more. And you start bailing it out, and you get bailed back again because it's endless. And each step of the way is just more and more understanding that it truly is a spiritual reality. It's just a constant flow of energy. You've got to see the falseness to see the truth. And the minds have got it upside down because that's a trick in the mind again. See, while the ego remains, it all has to fight for its, to prove its own existence. And the one thing you should never do is get serious, because if you get too serious on your search, and you start to get upset and blame yourself, then you're feeding your ego and your insecurity. And you see, insecurity is not a fact. It's only a thought from the mind. The same as all our feelings. They're not a reality. They're just a thought. We are the creators of the thought. Because it comes from the mind. Go beyond the mind. And you find out for a fact that insecurity is indeed a thought. If you see this game, you have no doubt at all. You will then, or very soon after, see the secret to life. Because insecurity keeps all negative games going. It's a perfect game. Nothing's wrong. It's only we look at it as wrong. But it's, you see, all these things are created from this isness, this buzzing isness. They're all created for a reason, because they are God. The will of God is all things, But it's a secondary game called life that we've messed up. So we've got to clean it up by raising the level of conscious state so that they can start to see this is a fact. And it's not like changing to another belief, as I said, it's a fact. You must see a fact. And a fact is it's consciousness which is inside you now being revealed to you. They're not intelligence. Not intelligence from the mind. I'm talking about the true intelligence, which is a quiescent mind, which is a mind which is an open channel to life. And all it sees is the isness. And inside this isness, all things are perfect, and the mind is used for the receiver of the isness. Truth covers all things. You don't have to talk about your problems. Your problems are an uncreated thing. And here's the secret, is to bypass them. Bypass them. Look within. And there lies the knowledge that only you can see.
Wow. It's nice that that tape I will be available for a while, you know, that you can listen to it again. I'm without words now, so I'm just going to say goodbye to all, and I'll have Andre email you and confirm the date for the next talk. But enjoy the rest of your evening, and thank you all so much for sharing what you did today.